Hi guys, my name is Kim Wilson and I'm the owner of Athena Personal Training in Edinburgh. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to Katie for inviting me to speak at this event. And I've never done anything like this before, so I may mess up my words a little bit at some point in this recording. And also apologies that I'm not able to be there with you guys in person. But hopefully this will suffice. And if you guys have any more questions after, I guess, my story, then you can always contact me either by email or social media to ask me any questions. So yeah, thank you, Katie. Thank you guys for being here. Let's get into it. So I run Athena Personal Training, which is a personal training and coaching business. Throughout the pandemic, I have changed quite a lot of things when it comes to how I run my business, and I had to move my business online for a large part of it. But I have started to get back into the gym and see people again in person. So I'll just kind of start from the beginning, how I got into this job, how I ended up starting Athena, and give you guys a little bit of an insight into the world of being a personal trainer and business owner. So I started Athena Personal Training in 2017. So this is the fourth year going into the fifth year of running the personal training business. Prior to that, I actually worked for a commercial gym called Bannatynes, which was my first job in the fitness industry. I was 24 years old when I started getting into sport and fitness as a coach. Prior to that, I had a completely different job, a couple of completely different jobs actually. So a little bit of background about myself. I'm actually Dutch. I was born in Holland. My dad is English. Nobody would ever guess that I'm Dutch because my accent doesn't really sound Dutch, but I am. I promise I'm not lying. When I was 15 years old, my dad moved to Spain. I moved with him and obviously went from a Dutch school into a completely different world. And I went to an international school in Spain. I did that for about a year or so. And then I ended up going to a hairdressing college in Spain, and I started my career as a hairstylist. So completely different from what I do now. So this is I guess can be quite an interesting thing for you guys as well, that what you choose to go into can sometimes completely take you into a different direction. Life can take many twists and turns, and you may end up doing something completely different from what you're thinking in your head right now. Anyway, going back to the story, so I worked in hair salons for a couple of years until about the age of 19. Then I moved around again. So I went from Spain, I came to Edinburgh. When I came to Edinburgh, I started going back to college because I wanted to finish a couple more academic courses and I wanted to get into some different type of work. So I did some business admin courses, and they just helped me gain a couple more qualifications to get into kind of receptionist roles, business administration roles. And I ended up working for Spire Murrayfield as an admin assistant. Now, I didn't enjoy that job at all. I am the type of person that quite likes to be hands-on. I like to physically work, and I love working with people. So even though I was working within quite a nice team and the job itself was fine, it wasn't giving me anything. I didn't feel passionate about the job. So I knew after about a year that I had to go and look elsewhere. So just to quickly touch upon the whole hairdressing thing, I always loved hairdressing, and I think because I started it at such a young age and because I moved around from country to country, it was really hard for me to settle somewhere and to find a place where I could stay longer term. And I think that's probably one of the only reasons why I left that career and I started looking for other jobs and looking for fulfillment elsewhere. So Anyway, the admin thing was boring me and I wanted to do something physical, hands-on. At that time, I had a boyfriend who was also a personal trainer, and he was just going through the courses of becoming a personal trainer. So this will be quite interesting for you guys to know. You don't necessarily have to do any sporting qualifications in university in order for you to become like a personal trainer. However, I would highly recommend that if you do have an interest in sport, a deep interest in sport, and you really want to pursue that, I would start pursuing that as soon as you can, because the more you learn, the better. The sooner that you can get a good base, the better. I personally went from one career to another into sport. So what I had to do is I had to do a personal training qualification. First of all, I did a physiology and anatomy qualification, which gives you your level 2, which will allow you to work in a gym. That doesn't necessarily qualify you to work as a personal trainer yet. You have to qualify to a standard called level 3. So what I did is I decided to gain my level 2, and then I got a job at Bannatyne. So I was employed by a commercial gym. I was there for 3 years before I actually left and went into my own job and started my own business. 3 years can be quite a long time, but I think having spent those 3 years at a commercial gym gave me so much experience and so many opportunities to work alongside really good people that knew what they were doing, as well as working with people, with the public in lots of different ways. I was doing classes. I was working on the gym floor. Obviously, there's certain parts of gym work that aren't as fun. You have to do a lot of cleaning. You have to do like some admin work to make sure people are booked in and stuff like that. And the classes that you have to teach sometimes aren't going to be the classes that you like. I personally had to, for the needs of the business, I had to teach a lot of spin classes. I had to teach a lot of body pump classes. And at one point, I actually had to teach a class that was dancing. Well, we'll talk about that another day. Anyway, so to get back to kind of the working for a company, I would not have changed that for the world. I think working for a business initially helped me figure out what I really wanted to do. So the reason why I got into sport is because I liked going to the gym, and I really developed a passion for lifting weights, which eventually turned into my now passion for powerlifting. Now I'm a competitive powerlifter, and I teach competitive powerlifters, which is kind of what Athena has evolved into. So when I started Athena, my initial idea is that I wanted to help more people, but women specifically, women like me, find their strength on the outside, but more so on the inside. For any of you guys that are maybe interested in lifting and in going to the gym, or even just any other sport, you'll know that it gives you a feeling and it gives you a sense of confidence when you play that sport or when you lift those weights. And if you really enjoy it, it kind of brings you into a zone, right? And you can't really describe it, and you can't really replicate that with any other activity apart from that sport or that activity that you're so passionate about. And for me, that's what powerlifting is. It's a very simple sport. It's simple but not easy. Obviously, if you want to get good at something, it's never going to be easy. But the methods behind it are fairly simple. Squat, bench, deadlift, you get good at those 3 lifts and you build them up, and then you compete, and then you lift as much as you can on the competition platform. So I started getting into powerlifting. I started getting into competing at the same time that I started Athena personal training in 2017. That was also the first year that I competed myself. 2018, I had a couple of my clients compete. And then 2019, I started my own competitions, which were like mock meets. And I started to run those as charity events. So that's kind of how I developed what I love doing. And I started finding ways of giving other people what I got out of it. So the passion, the feeling that I get out of competing, the mental health benefits that I get out of lifting and competing, I wanted to give that to other people. So that became my target audience. Women, mainly women that want to get strong inside and out. And then when I started these Athena meets, I initially just did that for my own clientele. Then other people from different gyms wanted to join in. And then I decided to just make them charity events. So I did one charity event for a charity called Circle, which is a small charity based in Edinburgh. And I then did another charity event the next year, 6 months later, for SAMH, Scottish Association of Mental Health. So both of those events were a huge success. And it was so lovely to see people from different gyms join in, and everyone was doing it for a good cause. So that in itself gave me even more fulfillment than I can even explain. So I think by now you've gathered that the reason why I got into coaching and lifting was more because of the passion element, whether it's passion for the sport or passion for helping people. I didn't go into this career because of a financial reason. I didn't go into this career thinking I was going to be rich. Some people do. Some people think that personal training or any sporting job is an easy way to work with rich and famous people and to become rich and famous yourself. It really isn't as simple as that. When I started my career in fitness and when I worked for the commercial gym, I was earning minimum wage for 3 years. When I then started to coach and PT people, you then have to pay a chunk of that. You get commission from that whilst you're working for the gym, which is not necessarily distributed evenly. Like you get somewhere in between 10 to 30% of what the client pays the gym. So it's a very small proportion on top of your hourly wage. So gym work in itself isn't necessarily lucrative. You really have to love working with people. You have to love being active, and you have to be willing to put the work in order for you to develop into the type of coach or trainer that you want to be. I knew exactly what I was passionate about. That guided me towards how I was going to build my business. Me knowing what my target audience was, because I wanted to target people like the person I was prior to finding lifting, and how I felt, how confident it made me, how it helped me overcome mental health battles with anxiety, depression, OCD, mental health issues that I've had all of my life or since I was very young. Lifting helped me with that. So that's one of the main reasons why I was so passionate about starting my Athena meets and then helping charities. So I think making it people focused for me was the key to success. So I've made a couple of notes just to see if I can help you guys with any questions that you guys may have at this stage. So first of all, any, I guess, top tips that I can give you guys on skills to have if you want to go into the fitness industry and if you want to become a personal trainer or a coach. So as I just mentioned, I'm personally very people focused. There are a multitude of jobs in the sporting world. You can go from being like a sports scientist, you can go into the sports science route, or you can go into more of the coaching route, coaching element, where you're dealing with people, personal training, where you're around people, class instructors. There's loads of different sports where you can be an instructor in that type of sport. You could even be a swimming instructor. There's loads of different branches that you can go into. So I think the first thing for you to think about is, what is my personality type? I think that could greatly help you figure out whether you are more of a people-focused person, or whether you are more of a things-focused person. Also, another element for you to look into is, am I an introvert or am I an extrovert? I'm personally very introverted. I love working with people, but I am more comfortable working with people in a one-on-one setting. I feel that I can get the most out of myself that way, and I can get the most out of the other person that way. I like building connections. So for me, working with people one-on-one, I feel that I do my best work that way. I do then like being around lots of people, but I feel like I can make the greatest impact one-on-one. This is one of the main reasons why I really like to work with athletes individually, whether it's online coaching or whether it's in person. But I also do like to have group sessions, small group sessions, where my lifters, my clients, can meet each other and therefore build connections with each other, which helps build a community. That community then helps me build a bigger business. So those are things to think about as well. So back to you guys. Have a think about, am I a people-focused person or am I a things-focused person? There's nothing bad about being a things-focused person. And by that, I mean, you might be more interested in the biomechanics about a person. You might be more interested in the theory behind stuff. Whereas if you're a people-focused person, you may be more focused on the feelings and, how can I help this person become stronger? How can I help this person become more confident? See the difference? There's actually a really cool test that you can do online for free, and it's called 16personalities.com, I think it is. And it's based on the Myers-Briggs personality typing system. I have a whole book on it. I'm totally obsessed with it, but it's really cool for you to kind of figure out, just a little bit, like, what is my personality type? And to be fair, like, as a teenager, you might not really know yet, because it's only really when you start to get into your 20s and 30s that you really start to develop or know who you are and what you're all about. But still, I think you're never too young to start looking into that kind of stuff. Second of all, what to consider when getting into the fitness industry. First of all, I think a good thing to consider is, think about the type of jobs that are available in your area, or even in your country. So in Scotland, you may be the type of person that would be quite happy to relocate for a certain job. I'm not going to lie, when it comes to sporting jobs, it is quite a small field. Often especially when people want to go for like a specific role, like you want to be a sport coach with a football team or a sport coach with a hockey team, those jobs are very sparse. And oftentimes you may have to do some kind of an apprenticeship or some kind of an assistant job, where you might have to be a voluntary role for you to start getting into that industry. But again, if that underlying passion for the job is there, I would highly recommend gaining as much experience as you can. It doesn't really matter what you get paid at the beginning, as long as you're able to pay the bills. If you're still living with your family, then you can do that whilst you are doing voluntary roles in sport to build your experience and gain that experience. Just to briefly touch upon my time back at that commercial gym, yes, I got paid for it. It was minimum wage. I wasn't living with my parents. I was paying rent in a flat. So for me, if I wanted to do a job to make money, that wouldn't have been it. I did it because I was passionate about it, and because I knew I had a vision in my head of what I wanted to build. I wanted to build a community of like-minded people that could help build each other up. And that's exactly what I did. But it took time. It took time. Like this, we're talking 3 years of just building experience, and then at least 2 years before I was able to really start doing big events, and really doing community events and charity work. So all in all, 5 years before I was really able to sit back and reap the rewards of what I built with my business. So just something else to consider, if you are thinking about becoming a personal trainer and building your own business, so going it solo, going it alone. So first of all, like I just said, gain experience anywhere, okay? As long as it's remotely linked to working with people or working within the sporting world, it's going to help you. To be fair, my days of working in hairdressing salons and working with people greatly helped my ability as a coach now. Like hands down, that 100% helped me communicate with people and build relationships with people and work within a team of people as well. Like in a salon, you're working with people. In a gym, you're working with people. Yeah, you learn more on the job than you necessarily do in the course that you do or the qualification that you're gaining. Like I mentioned, I did my qualifications slightly later, so after I left school. And the qualifications that I gained really just gave me a base. It just ticks a box, but it doesn't teach you the ins and outs of how to train a person, how to build relationships with a person, or even how to run a business. That's a complete different kettle of fish. So the things I wish I would have known when I started becoming a coach. Going it alone can be a very lonely place. There were a lot of times where I had to work very, very long hours. First of all, working in the gym, like the shifts can be quite long, and you can go from like late shifts to early shifts. You have to get up at 4 a.m. You'll be getting home at 11 at night. Like you have to be willing to sacrifice that if you really want to work in this field. Until you obviously get to the point where if you want to run your own business, where you get to the point where you can decide your own hours. But like I said, that can be a long 5 to 10 year process before you're able to really do that. It can be all consuming, as in once I started my own business, you're working every day. Even on days off, you're not necessarily off because you might still have to respond to phone calls. You might still have to book people in. You might still have to check your emails. You might have to do all the boring stuff like paying your taxes and dealing with your accountant and working out your finances, keeping a close eye on your finances. Those are all things that you wouldn't necessarily think about when you think about a career in sport or a sporting job, right? If you're running your own business, you have to learn how to be a business owner. And that in itself is a completely different job. That's more like an admin job, really. So again, the skills that I gained when I did my admin qualifications really helped me in this respect. And there's one quote that I just wanted to mention because I always kind of remind myself of it when things get tough, but also when I think about how grateful I am for what I have right now. And you've probably heard it before, with great power comes great responsibility, right? I always try and think with great freedom comes great responsibility. And by freedom, I mean, I have the ability to work anywhere right now. I can work from home. I could work from a different country as long as I have my laptop and my internet, because I've started doing a lot of online work. I can decide when I see people in person. I can decide when I have my group coaching sessions. But the responsibility is huge. I have to make sure that my finances are in check all the time. I have to make sure that the rent that I'm paying to the gym that I'm working out of is paid. I need to make sure that the logistics, as in people being booked in, people paying the membership fees, all of these administrative things, I have to make sure all of that's done. So I have to chuck that into my week, as well as working with people, as well as doing all the other things, as well as programming, as well as all the things that you do aside from working with people. Okay, so when you then run your own business, you have to be everything. That's a big thing to consider. So yeah, I guess one more thing I wanted to say or touch upon from the things that I wish I knew, or the things that I wish I did earlier on, is I wish I asked for help more often. I can be quite stubborn, and I can feel like everything is my responsibility, which technically it can be, but I wish I asked for help more often. I wouldn't have felt as lonely throughout this process. Build your network is another tip I would give you guys, as in surround yourself with like-minded people that are doing a similar thing to you. You know how they always say that you are the average of the people you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with people who want to be successful. Surround yourself with people who have dreams. Surround yourself with people that are hardworking, okay? And that will rub off on you. And then lastly, final one, guys, never stop learning, okay? The minute you think you know it all, you don't know anything at all. The more you learn, the less you know, and that's a good thing. Be open to learning, always have a growth mindset, and be open to listening to people from lots of different paths of life. You can always learn something from someone else, no matter how different those people are to you. And the fact that you guys are here listening to this, and the fact that you guys have come to Katie's event, shows that you are willing to learn and to listen and to see what opportunities are open to you in life. So don't ever stop doing that, okay? Thank you so much, guys, for being here today. Thank you for listening to this. I really hope I've not chatted for too long. So yeah, I hope that answers some of your questions about what it's like to run a business, and why I run this business, and what kind of got me to this point. So good luck, guys, all the best, and hopefully speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.